Hey guys, today I wanted to show you how to put an English bridle on a horse. And before we get started, make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel for more weekly horse videos. The first thing you're going to want to do before you even put the bridle on the horse is just to make sure that all the straps are nice and straight and that nothing's twisted. So the first thing is your bit. You want to make sure that the curve, you see there's a slight curve here, is facing towards the ground or to the outside, and that way it sits in the horse's mouth correctly. And then I'm going to want to make sure that the noseband is all straight. I like to pull it out before I put it on the horse just so it doesn't get in the way. I'm going to make sure that my cheek straps are all straight, nothing's twisted, my brow band's all good. Alright, let's go put it on a horse. The first thing I'm going to do now that I have Tucker is to put the reins of the bridle around his neck, and this is just so if he starts to walk off, I have a way to control him because I'm going to take his halter off. So I always put the reins over their head before I take the bridle off, and this is just so either way I have something I can hold on to. So once I have the reins over his head, I'll take his halter off. And it's important not to just drop the halter on the ground, just in case they were to step into it. You don't want them to freak out. And you don't want to like put it on your arm and have straps hanging down because you could get stuck and tangled and dragged off. So for now I'll just put it in this arm. Okay, now that I have Tucker's halter off, there's a few different ways you can put on the bridle. It really just depends on how your horse is. Some horses like to throw their heads up when you put on the bridle, so there's a specific way you can deal with those horses. But if your horse is pretty good, something you can do is just take your right arm and you're going to just put it under the throat right here. And so your bridle can go in this hand. With your left hand you can hold your bit and you can just put it on like that. If you have a horse that likes to throw their head up when you put the bridle on, one way that you can try to put the bridle on is by sticking your right hand in between their ears, and you can use this hand to kind of apply pressure on top of their head and ask them to keep it lowered. You'll put the top of your bridle in your right hand, take the bit with the left hand, and I'm applying pressure so it's keeping his head down. And there you go. So when you go to put the bridle on your horse, one thing you're going to have to do is to get the bit into their mouth. And this can be hard if you don't actually know how to do this. So, you may just think when you go to put your bridle on, you're just going to push the middle piece against their teeth and they'll open up. That's not right. That actually is really uncomfortable for the horses. Imagine if you had metal pressed against your teeth. So what you're going to do is you're actually going to stick your finger into the horse's mouth and wiggle your thumb to ask them to open it. So, the horse has teeth here and here. So right here, there's no teeth, and this is where your thumb is going to go. All you're going to do is take your thumb, and see how he opens right away? So I'm going to do that with the bit in my hand. I have my left hand on the bit. I'm just going to take my thumb, stick it in there, wiggle it around, and he opens right up. So once you have the bit in your horse's mouth, the next thing you're going to want to do is pull the bridle over the horse's ears. So what I like to do is I like to take the ears and kind of push them forward so that they don't bend weird, and put that band over their ears. And that way, you know, they're not in pain and bent back and all that stuff. And then you'll pull their forelock out. That's just kind of for comfort and also just so it's not tucked up like that. So once you have your bridle on your horse, the next thing you're going to want to do is tighten and check all your straps. So we'll start with the cheek strap. The cheek strap's important because it kind of determines how tight the bit's going to be in the horse's mouth. So if the cheek strap is too short, the bit's going to be drawn up too far and can cause discomfort and just apply pressure where it doesn't really need to be applied. If it's too long, the bit will hang too low in their mouth and they can put their tongue over the bit. So you just want it to be just right. And a good indicator of a just right placement is for there to be one wrinkle at the edge of the horse's mouth. Okay, the next thing you're going to want to check is the noseband. So the noseband goes around the horse's nose. A good rule of thumb is that the noseband shouldn't be any further than an inch from the ring of the bit. And you want your noseband to be loose enough so that you can fit like a finger through it. Okay, and to the throat latch here. This is the throat latch. It's just going to go under the horse's throat. And this needs to be long enough so that you can fit 4 fingers between the horse's jaw and your latch there. Okay, so the brow band, what you want to do, you want to place it just slightly under the horse's ears. You don't want it so far up that it's going to pinch their ears, and you don't want it so far down that it's kind of sitting uncomfortably on their head. So you want it slightly under their ears, and you want to be able to fit a hand through it like that. Alright, and so once you've checked all those things, then you know it's time to ride. Okay, so maybe you have a horse that doesn't like to get its bridle put on and it sticks its head up way up in the air when you go to put it on. One thing you can do is teach your horse to soften, which is basically you're teaching them to drop their head whenever pressure is applied. So how I like to do this, I start with a halter. I'll put one hand here, and I'll put one hand at their pole, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to slightly apply pressure towards the ground, asking my horse to move their head towards the ground. And Tucker's really good at this, we practiced it a lot. And there's green grass down there. So I'll apply pressure up here and also to the bottom, and he drops his head. So once your horse is good with that, something you can do is then I go to the next step basically of getting them really sensitive and responsive to this pressure. So I'll start by putting a lead rope just around their neck now, and I'll just apply downward pressure to the lead rope. You gotta stretch. So apply my pressure and he just drops his head and tries to eat. Apply my pressure, drops his head. So once you're at that point, then you can go and put your bridle on. You can put your reins or your lead rope up here, so that way you have this to apply pressure. And also, like I mentioned earlier about putting your right hand over their ears, you can apply pressure that way. I hope you found this video helpful. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like this video for more weekly horse videos.